Should you be investing in a cash flow real estate market? Should you be buying in an appreciation market? In order to have this conversation, we're going to have this discussion with Casey from Brick by Brick Wealth. How you doing? How you doing, Casey?
I am doing amazing today. How about you?
I'm doing wonderful. So where do you come down on the appreciation slash cash flow spectrum? What are you looking at?
So I get this question asked a lot. And frankly, I believe both are needed.
Mm.
I know people that buy tons of properties that are really high cash flowing, but a lot of times those really high cash flowing properties equate to D class neighborhoods. They equate to low income, slow appreciation, high risk. Cash flow high. And I mean cash flow high to regular 25% down. You can cash flow a lot if you put 100% down cash, right? So
Exactly.
it's all about how much you put down. But let's just consider a regular 25% down loan. If you're looking for that high cash flow, and typically most people mean high cash flow is like $500 a month or more. Where are you getting that cash flow? You're getting that in the D class neighborhoods, the cheap properties. But why are they cheap? They're cheap because they don't appreciate. They're cheap because that's all that they're ever going to be. Maybe a little bit more, but that's it, because tenants are so hard on those properties there. They need so much frequent rehab, and
Yeah.
turnover costs are crazy, that they're just not going to be worth much more. So you can get high cash flow properties that helps you today, but does anyone get rich on $300 to $500 a month? No, no, they don't. So you also need appreciation. You need properties that appreciate. If you buy only in appreciating areas, what does that kind of look like for your cash flow? Zero to negative. High appreciation areas like California and Texas usually mean no cash flow or negative cash flow, or like you say, alligator properties. So what do? You need the appreciation because that's how you're going to get rich, right? When you close your eyes and you wake up and your property's worth $1 million, but yet you can't be negative on that every single month. But if you buy the house with that cash flow of 500 a month or more, you're going to be always, it's just a pain in the neck. And you're not really ever going to make that, have that open your eyes and I'm rich. It's just always going to be a struggle and a grind. So the happy medium for me personally, what I've kind of found is buying in that B class neighborhood where there is some cash flow. It's not exorbitant, it's not amazing, but guess what? It's going to always be more than your expenses, and it's going to be a decent amount more. But it's not going to be some crazy expensive, high cash flowing property. You're going to cash flow, but you're going to have great rent appreciation and you're going to have great home appreciation. Why? Because these are in desirable neighborhoods where there are good schools and low crime, and people want to rehab their properties, and you have more owner occupieds than you have tenants. These are the neighborhoods that I look for. Now, sometimes am I going to cash flow an ARV, at a beautiful rent ready, Pinterest worthy property? Am I going to cash flow if I go buy one of those? No, nope, I'm not. So what am I going to do? How am I going to cash flow, and how am I going to get that appreciation? I'm going to buy in these B class neighborhoods, but they're granny houses. They need some work. And I'm going to put my money in the property and I'm going to leave it alone. Yes, I'm going to buy the house that needs work. I'm going to put some rehab costs in there. And I'm not cash out refinancing, because if I did, I wouldn't cash flow at my new mortgage payment. But what am I getting in return? Yeah, I'm putting an extra 15K into the property for a light cosmetic rehab, and I'm leaving it there. But that's peanuts. Look at inflation. $15,000 is nothing in the scheme of things. I'm going to hold this property forever. But what am I getting? I'm getting a Pinterest worthy 6-figure income earner, 2 college graduates with a dog that are going to start a family, that have high hopes for the world and for their life. And they're going to take care of my property. And they're going to tell me when things are wrong. And they're going to have nice furniture. And they're going to stay there. And they're going to play by their rules. And they're going to have good FICO scores. My gosh. Like, I want that. I want that tenant. I want a nice house in a good neighborhood where there's going to be low crime, and it's going to appreciate. And one day, those neighborhoods are going to be the good neighborhoods. They are not going to cash flow anymore. I won't have a chance. And I'll be like, properties in these areas, you can't cash flow there anymore.
Yeah. I think there's so much wisdom in all of that. I think there's a couple of things when I break this down. Um, for me, you brought it up. Cash flow is an absolute requirement. I don't buy in markets where it's an alligator. And let's be clear, zero is an alligator in my book.
Yes.
So that takes a lot of California out for me. In fact, I wasted a year trying to find something in the Bay Area that had positive cash flow. It didn't exist in 2001. It doesn't exist in 2023. So I had to go somewhere else. Uh, that brought me to obviously Fresno, California. It's no secret. And that's where I had positive cash flow. To your point, it wasn't great. I mean, it was a couple $100, but you're right. The appreciation was pretty amazing. And again, people can go look this up. 1818 North Drive East, 93703. I bought it for 107. I sold it like 3 years later for 265, I think.
Yeah,
California boom and, boom and bust, right? But again, I didn't sell and pay taxes. I did a 1031 exchange, moved all that equity over. The other thing that was important in my journey is I recycled capital, back to your point, right? You buy it today, you sit on it for 4 or 5 years to recycle capital. At the time, my rate came down, so my payment was the same, and I got a check. But I didn't use that check, that 20 grand, to, take a cruise. I bought another property, right? So the big thing for me was when I was in building phase, it was recycling capital, redeploying, not taking any of my chips, to do something stupid with. It was to keep moving forward. But to me, cash flow number one. And then to your first point, I actually say it this way: there are lots of properties that look good in a spreadsheet, often D-class properties. Oh, I'm getting 23% cash flow. No, you're not. You have no idea how hard it's going to be to collect rent, how many turns you're going to have in a year, how many evictions. It's just like eye-opening that, people still say these things. But I think cash flow is a requirement. And that said, I know plenty of people. I actually wrote about one guy in my book, One Rental at a Time. He was an executive, and he's like, Michael, and he brought me in his office, right? I tell the story in the book, but short story is I'm in his office. He's got a whiteboard. I'm going to buy 4 properties in, I think it was Louisiana. It might've been Mississippi after Katrina. We're getting bonus depreciation. I'm going to be able to do this and this and this and this. And then I look at the bottom of his chart. They're like -200, -300, -400. I'm like, dude, you're losing $1,000 a month. What kind of plan is that? He's like, oh, you don't get it. I'm a VP. I can afford $1,000 negative. I'm like, okay. Fast forward 4 years, he lost all 4 properties. He let them go.
Mm.
Just let them go. No alligators ever, is my
No,
opinion.
never. You need to have both things. You want cash flow and appreciation, but don't get too greedy on either side, right?
Yeah.
You just be healthy on the cash flow and be in an area that is going up in value with rents and with value. I'll say this: I have properties in B and C class areas, and post pandemic, right, we saw the huge rental increase across the nation. Guess which class of properties had the highest rent appreciation? My B class neighborhoods. Those rents went up $250 a month. My C class properties, literally 15 minutes apart. Okay. That's like it's in different areas, still Memphis, went up 75, maybe 100 if I was pushing it. But my other ones, $250, $300 a month in rental appreciation with a new tenant. I'm not going to do that to my current tenants,
Yeah.
but that just shows you the power. Like, wow, my B properties, they appreciated in rent and they more than doubled in purchase price since I've owned some of those. But my C class, some of them are kind of like right back down. C class is great, don't get me wrong, but it's still not as good as B class. And some of the guys that I know in my investor group that are, super wealthy and they're kind of like just hanging out, those investors, they only now buy A class. They only buy an A class. So where are they buying? They're buying Nashville homes because they're only doing A class properties now. So it's like, okay, so the dream really is to be able to afford only A class properties for appreciation when you get to that point. But between now and then, you're not going to get there. It's going to be a really long, hard time with the D class rentals and a big headache. So find the B and C class properties, start out C, kind of try and graduate to B. That's my opinion. And get the cash flow, get the appreciation so that you can do cash out refis down the line, or you can take HELOCs from your investment properties. You can pull some money out, do a portfolio loan, and then buy more properties. Or like you do, Michael, 1031 some of those into an apartment complex or whatever.
Yeah. The
You
last
got
thing you
options
said.
when you have equity.
Yeah, exactly. The last thing I want to highlight is I love that idea about buying in these B class areas that over time don't cash flow. I think that's a wonderful thing because, again, the whole beauty of getting wealthy, it's really, really easy. Unfortunately, step 3 is you need 10 years. So the idea is you have to be able to hold them for 10 years. And if you're only buying for appreciation, there is no guarantee you can hold them for 10 years. So you need some cash flow, then you hold them, equity happens, it gets better from there. Casey, you do a lot of amazing stuff every day. Where can people find you?
People can find me every day on Instagram. That's at Brick by Brick Wealth. You can also find me on YouTube, Brick by Brick Wealth, and Twitter and TikTok, and my website, brickbybrickwealth.com.
Casey, have an amazing week. Thank you so much.